One of the most important books of the Bible is a remix. The book of Joshua isn't just a sequel to the story of Moses, it's a deliberate reboot. Scene by scene, beat by beat, Moses parts the sea, Joshua parts the river, Moses stands on holy ground, Joshua stands on holy ground. Why would the biblical authors copy-paste Moses' career onto Joshua? To see how this works, we need to start where the handoff happens, the end of Deuteronomy. Chapter 34, verse 9. Moses lays hands on Joshua, transferring what the text calls the spirit of wisdom. This isn't just a narrative transition, it's a theological claim. The authors need their audience to believe Joshua carries the same divine authority Moses held, and they prove it through story structure. The flagship parallel, water crossings. In Exodus 14, God parts the Red Sea so Israel can escape Egypt. In Joshua 3, God parts the Jordan River so Israel can enter the Promised Land. The language is identical. Both texts describe the water standing in a heap. Both say Israel crossed on dry land. Same words, same imagery, same divine power on display. This is the parallel that announces the pattern. The author's opening statement that Joshua is Moses' equal. Immediately after crossing the Jordan, the Israelites celebrate Passover, Joshua chapter 5, verse 10. This is the same ritual that marked the night before the Exodus under Moses. The authors place it here deliberately, stitching Joshua's entry into the land directly back to the founding event of Israelite identity. Passover becomes the thread connecting both stories. Now watch what the author does next. Moses encounters God at the burning bush in Exodus 3. He's told, "Remove your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground." Joshua in chapter 5, verses 13 through 15, encounters a divine figure, the captain of the Lord's host, standing with a drawn sword, and he receives the identical instruction. "Remove your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy." A theophany, a visible appearance of God to a human, marking both leaders as divinely chosen. So we've seen three major parallels: water crossing, Passover, theophany. But the authors weren't done. Let's keep going because the cumulative weight of what comes next transforms this from an interesting observation into an undeniable literary strategy. Three more parallels in quick succession. First, spies. Moses sends 12 spies into Canaan in Numbers 13. Joshua sends 2 spies into Jericho in Joshua 2. Second, the battle gesture. During the fight against Amalek in Exodus 17, Moses holds out his rod, and Israel prevails as long as his arm stays raised. In Joshua 8, Joshua holds out a javelin toward the city of Ai, and Israel prevails. The same specific gesture with an outstretched implement during combat. Third, covenant mediation, serving as the intermediary between God and the people. Moses mediates the covenant at Sinai. Joshua mediates covenant renewal at Shechem. Why does this matter? The biblical authors used a technique scholars call literary typology, the practice of modeling a new figure on an established archetype. This wasn't plagiarism, it was the most powerful rhetorical tool available. In Israelite tradition, Moses was the gold standard. The highest praise you could give a successor was to show him doing exactly what Moses did. The text says it outright. Joshua chapter 4, verse 14. On that day, the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, so that they revered him all his days as they had revered Moses. That verse is the thesis statement. The 6 parallels are the evidence. The authors built a case, and the verdict is Joshua carries Moses' authority. 1 or 2 parallels might be coincidental. Leaders do similar things. They fight battles, perform ceremonies. But 6 parallels with matching structural placement, identical language, and the same narrative beats, that's not coincidence. That's design. Each additional parallel pushes the probability of accident further towards 0 and the evidence for intentional literary strategy towards certainty. Next time you open the book of Joshua, try this. Read Joshua chapters 3 through 5 alongside Exodus 14 and Exodus 3. Note every verbal echo. You'll see the author's fingerprints everywhere. This skill, recognizing literary parallels, unlocks layers of meaning in any ancient text. These writers were sophisticated craftsmen, and their techniques reward close, careful reading